Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to be sitting down with Vincent Daly and get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. So we have a David Cronenberg a week for you here, folks. We are jumping back to 1988 with Dead Ringers, then 96's Crash, 99 eXistenZ, 07's Eastern Promises, and finally, a movie that came out in 2024 but really didn't get a theater release until 25. We're covering The Shrouds, and again, all directed by David Cronenberg. So let's get Vin Daly in the room, see what he has to say about these movies. Stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how are we doing across the table?
Thomas, how's it going?
You weirdo David Cronenberg liking SOB over there.
Yeah, this is one for the freaks.
I tell you, this guy, Cronenberg, just doesn't miss. So I sat down, the movie, I watched 3 of them this week.
Okay,
But
yep.
Today, with us recording, I watched Dead Ringers today.
Oh, okay, fresh in the mind?
And I was eating a hoagie and had like a pasta salad next to me, and then the credits start, and I'm going, I better eat this fast because I'm going to lose my appetite.
Yeah, you don't know what's coming up.
Damn near 5 minutes. I mean, I see the tools on the screen.
Yeah,
the surgical tools. And I'm like, oh, Christ, here we go. Here we go. What was I thinking?
It's so true. It's so true.
Nothing more than a glass of water when you watch this guy.
Yeah, exactly. You need to fast to watch a David Cronenberg movie.
He's got style, man.
I'm glad that you watched as many as you did this week. I mean, and I'm also, let me say, I'm glad that you didn't watch the ones you didn't. Crash and
thanks to you. I mean, listen, folks, Vin put the training wheels on me this week.
Flat. No. Get away from those.
And you know what? Looking at his filmography, there's so much more to watch and cover of his.
Yeah. I mean, a whole era of that he kind of just completely abandons body horror as an aesthetic.
He does?
Yeah, kind of from like 2005 to 2012. It's just like...
Actiony?
Not actiony, kind of, I don't know, drama, mafia, dark, certainly, but not like the main hallmarks that we know Cronenberg. I mean, again, like, just his name.
Sexy gore. We could just start calling him Sexy Gore Cronenberg.
Gross sexy gore.
Absolutely. Any? Do you have any opening notes? How did you enjoy the week? Did you enjoy watching Cronenberg?
I definitely did. This was an episode of my own devices, and folks, we've talked a lot about writer-director David Cronenberg on the podcast now, and I won't lie. As one of our earliest director studies, year 1 of the show, I am definitely a little bit tempted to go back and kind of rejigger some scores.
No.
But well, it's really just Videodrome that I look at and I'm just like, I really like Videodrome. That needs to.
Did we cover that on the podcast?
Yes.
That was very early on.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if I'll allow that one.
After this week, you're steadfast on not allowing any. Cronenberg is where he is. We're not touching him again. But for this episode, we can't. Though it is a good 5 spot, all Cronenberg. We can't really call it essential Cronenberg, however, because I actually don't like a few of these movies.
It's not even close.
Yeah,
we more so just wanted to. Hey, let's do. You like him,
yes,
and we actually don't have all that much on the site,
right?
So it was like, and the Shrouds kind of. This Shrouds that came out, it got the festival release in 24.
Yes.
Then it got a somewhat theatrical release in April, and we kind of just missed it.
Yeah, and that's where this episode kind of serves as just like a catch-up episode of what we would have done if we caught it in April,
right?
Well,
and you've talked about it to me multiple times, where it's like, I really want to watch the Shrouds.
Yeah. I mean, and also, unfortunately, a little overhyped, I feel on the Shrouds.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
I feel like people are really praising this movie as like Cronenberg's best, like even over Crimes of the Future, since his kind of return.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I don't know if I was feeling it either, my friend. But I enjoyed it too. I mean, I like going through I don't usually sit down and watch these kinds of movies.
Sure.
So it was even good for me.
Yeah, well, listen, you surprised me way back when you watched The Substance.
Oh, yeah, I did watch The Substance, yeah.
So I feel like that already was a dip into extreme body horror that probably you would have been all right coming out of this week.
No, I'm good. I'm safe with it. These are better than horror for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather do these. Mm-hmm. And with a guy that has style.
Yes.
Like Cronenberg has a style.
Absolutely.
So, okay, want to jump into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Dead Ringers.
We've got a young Jeremy Irons, 1988 Cronenberg we've got here. Not his earliest film. Like, we've covered The Fly.
Yes.
And also Videodrome earlier, correct?
Technically Scanners.
Right,
but,
of course.
Scanners is on those, like, early episodes. I don't think they made it to the light of day. So, but yeah, that's all earliest. Also, The Dead Zone with Christopher Walken. That's,
oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Stephen King property.
Okay, well, Dead Ringers, let's get into it. It's Jeremy Irons and a lot of Jeremy Irons. I think what I was super excited about just seeing this is going to go on our super compilation, or our future compilation.
Of dual performances.
Of twin movies with dual performances.
Yeah.
We're adding to the list. There's more than you think, folks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of Jeremy Irons. So it's 2 hours, rated R, of course, because it's Cronenberg. Set up the film, and we'll take it back and forth.
Well, this is probably the easiest movie to find on streaming this week, and that is not something I say lightly. eXistenZ and Crash, and also what maybe was going to make the cut, a movie called Naked Lunch, all like horribly in licensing limbo, like very hard to find. So this one was refreshing. You just find it on Amazon, basically.
Just point of question here.
Sure.
So I was been saying it wrong.
No. It's said both ways. Even in the movie, it's said both ways.
Either existence or
eXistenZ,
because it ends with a Z.
Yes, and it has those capital X, capital Z. So,
right. Okay.
A weird thread in that movie of like all the names of companies have different capitalization all over. I don't know.
Okay,
we'll get into that a little bit later down the road.
Okay.
Dead Ringers, though, has been revitalized as one of Cronenberg's best films, in part because it was adapted for show by Amazon a few years back. Re-examined, I feel like Dead Ringers, even where we held back on that original director study, I was kind of looking not to scare off any potential new viewers on the podcast, because we were doing just Cronenberg out of nowhere. Now has been really seen as one of his best, and I think I'm kind of coming in a similar way. I early on in the show, I wasn't quite ready to show how much of a weirdo I am with some of my movie choices. But straight up, how dare I stop before this? Because there is a good case. It is my favorite Cronenberg period.
Wow.
Yeah. There's just such a nice balance of the messed up parts and then just like a great performance and a great drama on play.
A good story.
Yeah. This movie has a great lead-in to our week, though, because this section of Cronenberg's career, without a doubt, deals with sex, sometimes in scary ways, like you'd expect from his usual body horror genre, but also sometimes in strange ways that are either deeply psychological or intended to disturb the audience. These sex in Cronenberg films, even though it's very prominent sometimes. We'll talk about in Crash. I mean, it might as well be rated X. It's never to arouse. It's really to disturb. It is a flavor of his horror in a different way, as just how body horror is.
That is absolutely right.
Yeah.
It is a weird thing where it's you check yourself if you're getting turned on with some of his movies.
Maybe move to Canada for good old crony. But Dead Ringers is kind of all the above, with the story being an erotic mystery thriller that twists our understanding of events through a dramatic double performance from Jeremy Irons. We follow identical twin brothers, most definitely on the spectrum. I mean, this is like maybe pre-autism diagnosis. I mean, both of these brothers. I mean, they it's something else. Growing up together, they show that they have an equally brilliant mind as they rise through the medical community to become leading gynecologists in their field. Bev and Elliot are both played by Jeremy Irons, which by far is the biggest hook for the film. And I'll say this multiple times. I mean, Irons kills it here, expertly crafting a performance that is two sides of the same genius coin. Bev is introverted, developing cutting-edge methods that revolutionize his area of study, and Elliot is extroverted, acting like a chameleon in the ultra-wealthy society they navigate through. But from the very beginning of the story, we are rarely shown who each brother is clearly, the differences only being apparent when they are side by side. They end up in an affair with a celebrity client and juggle personas in the relationships, becoming complicated for the first time when their lives begin to diverge. Between drugs and dreams, decay and deprivation, the Mantle Twins saga takes a turn for the strange the more they understand about each other and the less they understand about what makes the world tick. Let's get it out of the way, people. Cronenberg's body horror mixed with gynecology is very simply a mix I thought I never wanted. You know what I mean? That's a scary mix. That's even giving me the heebie-jeebies right now, just trying to summarize it. There is no other word for this kind of medical horror, though, other than terrifying. The atmosphere to the story is terrifying in real ways, whether it's the sad answer to a woman wanting children or the kind of awkward, uncomfortable trust you put yourself in your doctor's hands. But many aspects of this are visually terrifying as well, from the cultist red surgical clothes of the twins' kind of futuristic medical practice.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's like, what is going on here? Are they demonic? Like, what is happening? And then, of course, to the nightmare surgical instruments that disconnect us from reality altogether. I think this spread or range of horror is exactly what made this so complex to watch and really stands out to me as one of the more well-balanced projects from our director. It wasn't too much on one side. Mm-hmm. It was balanced between things that any audience member kind of feels, being in like a medical office or having nerves over that. Certainly from a woman's perspective, what you hand yourself over to in a kind of gynecology stirrups, you know what I mean? It's a revealing process. But on top of that, how that's then twisted with the normal horror beats of what Cronenberg brings,
Even I felt that it was well balanced. I thought it was, you could almost call it a normal movie. Because sometimes Cronenberg doesn't feel like a normal movie at all.
Definitely not.
And it was. It felt, I don't know, and the runtime was good. I don't feel like we're in a scene too long ever, so it's paced really well.
Yeah.
And you're right with Jeremy Irons selling it well. I mean, I thought it was pretty, it's almost 40 years old, and doing that twin and on screen and then conversing, kind of risky, and how is that going to come across?
Yeah.
But even in the modern day watch, he does a good job of it. And Irons does a good job of having a kind of different personalities, at least, between the brothers. One is definitely one way and one is the other, and it helps even just give the viewer separation in your mind. So it adds to it. It actually feels like two different people.
Yeah.
Which I think he's selling it. He's very much selling it. Not to mention he's a great actor.
Absolutely. I mean, we've commented on the past about Irons being a enjoyably hammy, actor.
At times, yeah.
I mean, and that's almost a backhanded compliment. Well, it definitely is a backhanded compliment. But here, I mean, he adds so much to it. And I mean, I think, really continuing that for Irons, because even if you have no interest in our director or the genre of this movie, I think this is a phenomenal performance worth seeing.
Oh, it is good, yeah.
Right from the get-go, the twins are balancing each other's lives, able to be in two places at once and filling in their weaknesses. But the story always makes it unclear who is who intentionally. I feel like this is a fantastic setup for the mystery, playing a game with the audience right from the start. Kind of making you wonder what side might be doing, what one side might be doing while the other is on the screen, while Irons is just a single person on screen.
Right, okay.
I feel like playing the game of who's who in every scene speaks to both how nuanced Irons' performance is and showing the psychology of each brother, kind of what you're saying, Tom, with that there's a good line. It's not just like, he's playing.
It's not the exact same guy.
Exactly. Like we see in dual performances. There's a fine line, but like a definitive line between the two. But it also just makes for a fantastic participation that the audience can explore literally every single scene. Just playing that little game of just like, I wonder who I'm actually seeing here. And that's set from the get-go in the mystery.
See, I thought I was happy because I thought he did a good job at separating it enough, where I was almost happy that we kind of had an idea of who's who.
Sure.
Well, one just seems softer and more almost empathetic.
Sure.
And the other one is more brash and in your face in multiple ways.
Almost American Psycho-y kind of,
Sure. Yeah,
sociopath.
Yeah. And I don't know, it grounded me a little bit in the film. So I kind of like that.
I think you'd be surprised, though. On a rewatch, in kind of the appreciation of this film, there are a lot of moments that Cronenberg is baking into the visuals of showing a little bit of a tell of the other brother in the other brother's shoes. A real clear one, and obviously no spoilers, are glasses. Sometimes you see the glasses on someone and you're like, wait, I thought I knew which brother this was.
Right, okay, that's
good. And you
good.
can't tell if it's story-wise them just filling into the shoes and as they roll swap, or is there something mysterious going on there? I feel like there's a lot of depth to it there. Seriously, though, I would compare this head-spinning quality to just great modern mystery thrillers. Memento comes to mind, Sixth Sense, Fight Club. All certainly will deserve a rewatch for the podcast. This as well deserves a rewatch to pick up even more of that mystery, to pick up even more of what's being subtly baked into performance and what Cronenberg is doing with the directing. Irons' acting, though, is fantastic in this. I know we've, like I said, made fun of his kind of deliciously hammy performances, maybe mainly Dungeons and Dragons, but both sides of the twins are just so captivating to watch. I kind of hate comparing this to American Psycho because I think this movie's a lot better than that movie, but Irons captures that true sociopathic spin in his interactions, and all specifically in the gray area between Bev and Elliot. It's when Bev maybe, switches on a little bit more extroverted out of nowhere, or when Elliot shows some empathy or for maybe some vulnerability to it. That gray area, that's all on Iron's shoulders, and I think that's where he's really doing a fantastic job. It's also where we get a degree of unreliable narration to keep things interesting. Since each of them frequently swaps places without alerting the audience, not only are you scanning the performances to spot the qualities of this acting, but again, that plays into the game of scrutinizing the mystery of who's who. Earlier in the year, we talked about the odd reemergence of this dual acting performances that came about. We had all of a sudden just got a bunch of these again this year. But for real, this has to be in the Hall of Fame of dual roles, if not at the very top of it. I really can't think of another movie that was like, wow, not only was this elevated by two performances from one actor, but almost I couldn't see any other actor step into this role.
I mean, what did we have? We had Sinners this year, which you did like Michael B. Jordan.
Sure.
And then you had Robbie.
Alto Knight.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, Bobby and Alto Knight.
Yeah.
And then you had Robbie in Robert Pattinson. What is that?
Mickey 17.
Mickey 17.
Yeah.
Wow, we did have.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was like, why did this come about in 2025 again?
And then other ones, there's Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which is the shortest on screen, and then the one with Tom Hardy.
Spoiler, unfortunately.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And then the Tom Hardy one.
Yes, yeah.
Which we haven't seen.
And, I mean, in the past, there have been plenty of these. I think you bring up a good point, though. What did you think about, the technical elements of them both being on screen?
It was rudimentary, but it worked.
Yeah.
Because the idea is there were definitely not as far as one shot with both of them on screen showing their face. There would be a ton more of those today because it's just easier done.
To do the digital
so a lot
swap.
of this is one face is on screen, the other back is towards you.
Yep.
It's turned towards you, so you can just do a fill-in guy. But it worked. I think his tricks, it didn't throw me out of it.
Yeah.
And it was still done. Again, almost 40 years. I was impressed by it.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
I guess I kind of worried myself of seeing, I don't know, Cronenberg coming from body horror, coming from prosthetic work, trying something bold and it just looking old. You know what I mean?
Oh, it easily could have looked
exactly.
old. In lesser hands, absolutely.
So I'm glad they went with more of a tried and true, simple way to get them both on screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just back of the head stuff and shit like that. So... Like I said, though, I think this is the perfect balance of weird and just legitimately great qualities that we get with good old Crony. The legendary Howard Shore does composing on all 5 of these films this week.
It's his guy.
It is his guy. It's his boy.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, for real.
Because Howard Shore really isn't... You look at like Carter Burtwell, who's such a worker, and a lot of other guys who don't have high status, like A-tier status.
Right.
Howard Shore would almost be one of those B or C-tier guys just because he's a little bit quieter. His name doesn't get mentioned much. It really is the Lord of the Rings that just
skyrockets
propels him. Yeah. But he is Cronenberg's guy, big time.
And I enjoyed how kind of surprisingly emotional the soundtrack gets.
I heard a little Lord of the Rings just a touch. There was one point towards the end of the movie.
Yep.
And a lot of just kind of panning shots with his music in the background. And I was like, that kind of sounds just like, oh yeah, that's right. It was cool.
Yeah, but I would say this is the only real standout this week for that collaboration of Howard Shore and Cronenberg. Here again, surprisingly emotional, and I think again that adds a little bit of an element, a little bit of spice to just a balanced experience from Cronenberg rather than being so extreme. That really gears the experience towards the drama and the drama of this character unraveling, again supported by some of Iron's best acting on screen. I really would be hard-pressed to say anything else from his catalog of films that would exceed this performance, no less twice over. We're going to go ahead and give Dead Ringers 1988 and 83.
An 83%?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what is it called? It got an 82.
Crimes of the Future.
Crimes of the Future got an 82.
Yeah.
Wow, 83%. You liked it that much?
I think so. I think it's my favorite Cronenberg. Again, travesty that we stopped that original director study at this movie.
Yeah, I'm shocked at this.
I'm telling you, this was so well balanced. Good in a way that I'm surprised it didn't get more Oscar recognition as well.
Yeah.
Because it's so actor focused.
Man, I bet I feel like Cronenberg's latest films, when you look at kind of in the past maybe 15 years,
Sure.
I don't know... Does this sound right? Almost like his budgets were less, or he's trying to do more with just little. Like this felt like a movie. This felt like a 1988 movie.
Absolutely.
That could have just rivaled anything else that came out in 1988.
For sure.
I didn't see. God, I keep on wanting to call it just like Blood something, but it's Crimes of the Future. I keep on. Like Crimes of the Future. Even just when it came out and the feeling of it, it wasn't. It had to be a little bit more contained.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Absolutely. And we definitely see that with Shrouds. I mean, Shrouds feels like almost an indie film at that point. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with this project. There is a gap in Cronenberg's career, though, that I think it's from 2016 to Crimes of the Future in 2022.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe... I don't know. In that stumble, you lose momentum that producers look for, financiers look for.
With the way the studios too.
Exactly.
It's not. I don't know if it's the most sellable content.
Right. Especially when he's going to want to do what he wants to do.
Right. Yeah.
With whatever concept he wants to introduce. So, but I'm totally with you that you do see an unfortunate. You can feel slope downwards, not in quality necessarily, but definitely in budget.
Yes, and just what you have production and what you can give time-wise, actors, schedules, things like that. And 83% though, this is a big score for Dead Ringers.
I thought
this makes sense too because I kind of liked it.
Yeah,
and if I like it, I mean seriously, if I like it, whoo boy, Not going to give it a shoes, but I was in for it. Well, I watched the first episode of the Amazon show.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's a miniseries. Because when I saw it was only one season, I was just like, oh god, I got panned after one. But it's starring Rachel Weisz, so it's female led centric with the two twins.
Yep.
And it is the most HBO feeling Amazon show I've ever seen.
Really? Wow.
And I try to give Amazon shows at least one episode or something like that to get a vibe down. And it feels the most adult. It is definitely going for the gore. It's going for shock. It's going for adult. Rachel Weisz is definitely kind of playing a mess and partly funny sometimes as well.
Okay.
I think I'm going to continue to watch it.
That's
and maybe
interesting.
After I'm done with the miniseries, I'll kind of give my 2 cents on it. But it felt HBO.
Yeah.
Which says a lot because I've never feel that from Amazon.
Oh, so true. I mean, exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I feel like that is the biggest praise you can give an Amazon show where like production quality is always like, oh, that looks really cheap, unfortunately.
Cheap, or sometimes they just have... Amazon comes out with shows that just a small people are going to really love, but they don't feel wide audience
ready.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. absolutely.
So even going back to like Transparent, that film or that show, early on stuff like that. I mean, one of my favorite travel shows ever is the Emeril Lagasse one.
Right.
Won an Emmy. No one talks about it.
Yeah, no one talks about it.
But I don't know. I'm going to give it a watch.
Yeah.
And it is just called Dead Ringers, I think.
Yeah, it's an adaptation
Yeah.
At that point. Of
Very
the same story.
adult.
Yeah. I can only imagine just what they could do with the slow burn and building up these elements over the course of a miniseries, you know?
Right, in a modern day setting. You know, they're in the hospital, more hospital, not so much in their clinic. It takes place in a hospital.
Yep.
So a little bit more action going on as well. But we'll see. Rachel Weisz seems to be doing okay in it. Okay, 83% for Dead Ringers. Let's jump to 1996's Crash. No, not that Crash, not the Oscar Crash from the early aughts, from the early 2000s.
Exactly.
We are in 1996, and you kind of gave me the elevator pitch of this film.
Which needs an elevator pitch.
And I was like, wow, okay. He went for this one. Why don't you break down the film a little bit, get into it, tell us about Crash.
Well, yeah, folks, if you confuse this movie with the semi-controversial Crash from 2004, that's okay, because I was right there with you. I mean, even to the point of like getting ready to watch the movie for this episode. That Crash has lived in infamy after being one of the most famous Oscar winners, unjustifiably winning Best Picture when they were kind of just blatantly better films in the running. And I'll save my thoughts on that for down the road, because I think a special that I've been brewing on for a while was something along the lines of famous Oscar winners that never should have won. Maybe that's leaning towards a special that...
Talk about a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, I'm
episode.
seeking out the bad, you know? I'm seeking out to kind of shit on these movies, but I am really interested in compiling
that's
at
a
least
great special.
Yeah. Regardless, 8 years earlier, there was a movie called Crash, done by our weirdo Canadian boy that we're talking about today, and it's a doozy. It's a doozy.
Let me say, it's an hour and 40 minutes. This is NC-17.
Yeah. And like I said, and like I will say, I think it deserves to be X. It is.
Is there an X after NC-17?
Maybe not. No, I don't think so.
I think NC-17 took over X.
Okay, got it. It's a lot. I do think a little bit of background here. This coming out in 1996, it does make a lot of sense in the landscape of erotic thrillers. Way back when we talked about movies like Basic Instinct from Paul Verhoeven coming out in 1992. It really surged popularity into adult-focused sidesteps in the genre of thriller. And even going back to what we discussed with Brian De Palma and his work in the 80s, it shows the age-old lesson sex sells. So I think why this, though how fringe of an idea, how really truly out there of an idea this is, there is some evidence of where I would think this would be greenlit in the landscape.
Yeah, it does make sense. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, even Showgirls, things like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
NC-17 was almost having a moment in the 90s as well.
Absolutely. Crash is an erotic thriller based off of the 1973 book under the same name by author J.G. Ballard, who's actually had some projects adapted, mostly his sci-fi works. He did High Rise, if that stands out. But this is no science fiction, and I have to stress is very erotic due to the arc of our character's story as well as the strangeness of the story's premise. For real, I mean, this had me blushing. This is a surprisingly erotic movie. If you needed evidence of the freak projects Cronenberg creates, this has to do with the rare psychological condition of symphorophilia, which basically means to be aroused by disaster, or in this case, car accidents. Bear with me, please. Don't click off the video or the podcast yet. We got a lot of movies to get through. We follow James Spader and his wife in a bold open relationship. Bold for 1996, bold for today, too. Who seemingly get off on sharing their sexual exploits sleeping around with other people. He gets into a lethal car wreck with Holly Hunter, killing her husband instantly, but strangely bonding with each other in the adrenaline-fueled flickers of the accident, continuing to an affair surrounding their new fascination. Quickly, he slips into a dark fringe of society comprised of, for lack of a better word, exhibitionists, I guess. that recklessly perform and stage accidents to a growing subculture drawn into these disturbing acts. This fascination with mechanical mutilation will soon pollute both of his worlds, however, leaving him chasing an unthinkable thrill. I think now would be a good time to tackle how Cronenberg's writing and dialogue sounds, and something that we kind of talked about a little bit behind scenes as well, Tom, especially because of how much this movie has to sell this impossible idea of characters getting turned on by car accidents.
Yeah.
Thank you. I don't, successful or not, it has that job.
What's it called again? What's the official term?
Cimerophilia.
Okay, it's pretty good.
Yeah. We will absolutely encounter this again in the Shrouds later on in this episode, but often how characters talk in his films sounds somewhere in between being stilted and really not human in the slightest. And realistically, that can be a distracting aspect to the experience. And I know this was something that you brought up in talking about the Shrouds when we were actually driving to Highest to Lowest. I don't know how you feel about it now after maybe watching some of the more normal movies from Cronenberg.
I feel the same way kind of about how I felt Shrouds.
Okay.
Upon first watching it, as soon as it was over, the way I feel about it then is the way I feel about it now.
Sure.
That was the first one I watched. Then I watched Decent Promises, and then I watched Dead Ringers. Yeah.
Yep. Now, how I have always seen it, and not making excuses for it, but where some of my appreciation comes from is that the weirder the premise of his movie, the weirder the world building becomes. And I usually enjoy that almost in either a sci-fi or alternate reality fiction sense of how that affects how people talk in his worlds. I think great examples of this are both Videodrome and Crimes of the Future being perfect examples on either side of his career, where sci-fi is how we get into the water of this weird world building, but still these characters exist in whatever the premise is.
Right.
I think on a positive, you could easily put this side by side with how people either appreciate or hate David Lynch scripts. Of course, calling something Lynchian is a meme unto itself. On the negative, though, I think it would be completely valid to criticize Cronenberg's dialogue in the same way you would criticize like an M. Night Shyamalan's dialogue for sounding inhuman. There is a gray area. I could say it's just his style. I don't know if that's a big enough excuse in some cases, and we're going to see throughout this episode, sometimes that lands, sometimes that doesn't.
Yeah, because it felt very normal he had like a normal script in Dead Ringers. To me, it felt like normal people talking for the most part. We're talking about weird stuff.
Sure.
But it felt like normal people talking.
Yep.
And I just think from the jump from Shrouds, and it sounds like that's how this is too in Crash, that it just has a weirdness to it.
Yeah.
You just want to be like, why are you talking so weird?
Why are you being such a freak? Right. And I mean, that's very true in this one. So, nonetheless, I think in that kind of thinking, weird premise equals weird world building and weird characters existing in that world. The weird premise of Crash requires a very strange world, and in a story that kind of changes the reality of the world without having the crutch of being science fiction. It doesn't have the crutch of a genre to say like, all right, well, clearly this is not meant to be real. Crash struggles with that because it is so pedestrian. It is so like our reality. It's car accidents in the 90s.
Right,
you know what I mean? This stylistically inflates almost everything around cars to the point that it's all people talk about. Traffic accidents, commuting, car safety, parking lots. The hyperfixation on cars our characters have magnify this in a stylistic way, and at times could almost be seen as a kind of a satire on the American auto industry. I feel like maybe this would have hit a little bit harder in 96 because you have so much more mass, highways being developed and whatnot. I mean, like, there's so much more there that is of a talking point around car culture. But like I said, without the ease into these ideas with something like a sci-fi environment or something to just give us some guardrails to what the concepts are, it is a tough sell to make this world believable with how it's supposed to mirror reality in some sense. I mean, every character we talk to, no one sees this fetish as weird. So it's kind of like, well, what the hell is going on? I needed at least a few characters, no less one. I need a few, maybe even like a good actor to fill one of those roles to be like, are you sure?
Right.
Like, but everyone's so on board. And everything is so like dark and kind of alternate reality. It's a hard sell on top of it having the duty of selling this idea.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is also very stream of conscious and disorienting for most of its runtime. Every beat of the story we step into is pretty much any time James Spader is having sex or discovering something he shouldn't be discovering. That's where I really do come back, though, to this being rated differently, because while the arc of the story is about sex directly, at times this bridges into feeling like an X-rated movie and is more than excessive. I mean, like, every scene, it feels like, is a sex scene.
He's going for it. It's a lot.
This is simultaneously the most niche and the most talking ever put into a porno ever. This is something else. But in the end, while I might not have hated this, and maybe I'll even go so far as actually finding its darker moments kind of captivating of how just bold the ideas were and how disturbing they were. I have no idea of who I would recommend this to, or even if this was even worth watching in the first place. I think in some ways this has some crossover with films like Nightcrawler from 2014.
Oh.
Where like...
Yeah, I could see that.
It's about...
That's a safe version of this.
Yeah, and that's not even like that's a dicey movie sometimes. But it's kind of where like debased actions are the tension in the story. Mm-hmm. That's definitely the core here. And I will say as well, though I've never really enjoyed anything from director Lars von Trier, this is right in line with those type of psychological extremes in those type of films. But if that sparks some interest, maybe check it out. But for now, we're going to go ahead and give Crash 1996 a 45.
A 45%. Not looking so great there, Crony.
Crony.
Well, Vin, you're just not weird enough, I guess.
I guess
not. You're more sane than other people out there.
I guess I have the buck stops here.
I'm glad you watched it. Now we know.
Yeah, well, I am glad I watched it in the sense of, like, I truly didn't understand what was the difference between Crash 2004 and this Crash.
Well, now you know.
So, yeah.
Okay, all right, so 45% for Crash. Let's jump 3 years ahead with eXistenZ.
Yep.
Okay, or eXistenZ, however you want to say it.
Yep.
Okay, so this one's about an hour and a half, hour and 40, rated R again. Very difficult to find, correct?
Yes.
Like, why is this one on the list compared to others?
Well, it's a little bit of a return to the body horror we know from Cronenberg, so I wanted to kind of represent that in some way. It's also very sex-driven and dark in that sense, but it was almost a cut from the list because, like, a lot of his stuff is in licensing hell for one reason or another. I found this on, and I've used this resource a couple times, the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the highest quality streaming, but it is no ads. I mean, certainly probably illegally offered as far as the streaming goes, but it is the only option that I find when it's truly in licensing hell for these movies.
Yeah, I wonder what the deal is. It's got to be somehow with some of the Canadian producers or production companies he uses and things like that.
Yep.
And, it's got to be something with that.
Yeah, and maybe what I'm experiencing is that it's available in Canada and not U.S.
Could be.
Something like that, but I don't know. It was a tough one, though. It was really, truly almost a cut, and maybe we should have.
eXistenZ or existence 99. Go for it.
Yeah, so throughout the special, you might be asking yourself, folks, sure, these movies are all weird, but isn't Cronedome known for body horror type stuff? Well, here we go. We've talked a good amount about unofficial trilogies as of late, and I think in a certain sense, this kind of belongs to one of my own for our director this week. I really would put this smack dab in the middle of Videodrome, eXistenZ, and Crimes of the Future for all how they dive headfirst into a vision of the future that is unlike any other science fiction out there, and oftentimes kind of flirts the line with being demonic or extremely dark in some sense. In a horror sense, I'd easily put this style at the caliber of someone like Clive Barker from the Hellraiser series, but in a sci-fi sense, I think Cronenberg is one of a kind. He really doesn't have a contemporary that matches how wild, again, diving headfirst into yes, this is the future. This is not the future as we know it. Like, what in history changed to give us this future? But while that might fit side by side with some of my favorite movies from him, this did not stick the landing on its concepts and might be actually one of my least favorite movies from him. eXistenZ, capital X, capital Z, is described as a sci-fi body horror, but kind of unravels more like a psychedelic spy movie for most of its runtime. The story is set in a dystopian 2030, and eXistenZ is the new virtual reality video game on the market utilizing, once again, bear with me, disgusting cutting-edge biotechnology. Presented to us by its lead game designer, Allegra, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, bioports are spinal input plugs that have replaced electronic devices in this reality and shifted the world into using grimy, organic tools in everyday life. After an attempted assassination, Allegra and her publicist Ted, played by Jude Law, escape on the run from a radical terrorist group opposing the evolution of humanity using this technology. The culture around video games themselves has shifted as well, resulting in cult-like fanaticism that intoxicates the player through its unprecedented immersion. But once in the game, the conspiracies of the real world seep into the game's reality, twisting both indescribably. I think with all good sci-fi, Cronenberg's world building is the main hook for the experience here, and where I have the praise.
That setup does not sound terrible, I will say.
Sure,
it
right.
sounds pretty 99, like it sounds 90s.
Yes.
But I kind of dig it. I like how he does like to look like, video games are becoming a thing. Mm-hmm. Let me take that, and what is the horror futuristic weirdness that I can do with it? I dig that. I like his imagination in this one.
For sure.
And the cast too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Ian Holm and is our boy in it too?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jude Law, yeah.
It has a lot going for it, and I think it has a lot going for it as well because we're in the deep end of him taking a concept and Cronenberging it.
Right.
You know?
That's a good phrase.
We're shown everything from organic game controllers, yuck, bone and flesh used for guns. I mean, that's some of the bone guns in this are really cool. And farmed-raised mutant animals changing everything, acting as kind of like the silicone-like building material for organic tech in this world. Fish farms are basically mutated and have redundant organs that are just harvested to basically make into these organic computer devices. It's brutal. It's very gross. But it is something that kind of captivates you for how shocking it is, how bold the idea is. The 90s sensibility of how video games will develop as a medium is kind of charming, especially how wrong they get it. You know, I mean, it's definitely a view of video games before Grand Theft Auto has existed. They just haven't had that idea of just like, hey, you put someone in a virtual world, they're going to commit every crime possible. But performance-wise, this world building really thrives with weirdo actors like Willem Dafoe and Ian Holmes introducing us to this strange reality. Both of these specifically, Dafoe plays a gas station mechanic that has expanded his offerings to shady, gross spinal procedures, installing bioports. Holmes is a veterinarian that now has found work in surgical diagnostics operating on these organic tech, these organic tools. Very interesting. However, as wild and gross the world building is in this, it feels like characters are poorly written to exist within that world that's being created. A big sticking point for me was Jude Law's character in this. Obviously serving some role to be the fresh eyes like the audience is seeing. Someone that we can step into their shoes. But at no point did he, as a character, make sense in the context of the story. It's very confusing because how would someone rise to adulthood and be so excessively naive about how the world uses this biotech and is transformed by this biotech in everyday aspects of life? It's just really conflicted in this character to say, like, he doesn't know what a bioport is, but we don't use normal, like, electronic technology anymore. It's been completely supplanted by organic technology. So it's like, what? Jennifer Jason Leigh is also really annoying, both as an actress and as a character in this.
Okay.
I gotta say, I really wasn't a fan of her. Her monotone delivery is more than a little frustrating for how it undercuts these moments. Half the time, that's because she's underreacting to the craziest shit you've ever seen on screen. She whips out the game controller, which is like this undulating organic mass, and she's just like, yeah, this is my controller. What, do you think it's weird? Like, yeah, I do. And then the other half of the time, her character just boils down to having all the answers, but choosing not to speak. I mean, just very frustrating as far as like a mystery, something unraveling. If you have a character that has all the answers by the end and had all those answers earlier, I don't think that's some great writing there. I got to be honest. Unfortunately, the biggest issue, though, I have stands is where this stands as a sci-fi production. And I think for 1999, this could look way better and way more stylish, believe it or not. Watching this, I could not help but think about movies like Gattaca or The Matrix, name drop, as just examples of projects using their sci-fi design to inform the visual storytelling. I have a big, big problem with the setting in this because we're constantly shown very low-tech and grimy environments. Partly, that's because the world has abandoned electronics as we know them. And stylistically, kind of highlights how strange this biotechnology is and how it transformed the world. It's that's the way that we kind of gather how much this has shifted the reality to using these devices. But I'm sorry, this just felt cheap. It seriously looks like they filmed it in Delaware or some shit. Like, it's bad. Worst of all, it becomes frustrating that, believe it or not, the hardest pill to swallow around this film wasn't the nightmarish spinal plug characters have. It was, why the do the environments look like South Jersey or some shit? Like, it's just like, we're at gas stations and warehouses and paint is peeling everywhere. And it's like,
it doesn't feel futuristic at all in any way.
In the slightest. And it's like, really, it detracts from it. It detracts from every positive I could give around the bold vision Cronenberg has here with the practical effects. A great example of this is the first scene that we are being shown, eXistenZ, the game itself. This is a world-altering game reveal. This is, I believe, the 6th or 7th game Allegra has designed, so she has enough. There's a cult fanaticism out there around her. And where do we present this? Not at E3, not a big showroom. It's a local church hall with, again, peeling paint on the walls. Like, what is going on here? Even when we're inside the game, the sets are just still warehouses and shit, and it really bummed me out for how much cooler and well done this could have been. I just think it's like a huge missed opportunity. Every positive I could throw at this movie, there is an equal element that detracts from what I could praise about it. But honestly, the whole thing just kind of bummed me out. I didn't like this movie at all. I think the potential for a very dark cyberpunk story is here, but there's just a total disconnect with the production quality of the movie. The story becomes far too focused on multiple twists by the end in like a tacky late 90s way. And like I said, it sadly has to be my least favorite from our director. We're going to go ahead and give eXistenZ 1999 a 38.
All right, a 38%. Not a good movie.
Not a good movie.
And you can't find it anyway, so...
Right. So
no one's losing nothing.
If you were losing sleep over trying to find eXistenZ. Yeah.
Listen, as far as ticking down his body horror stuff, you had to watch it.
Yes.
Okay, and you bit the bullet.
I did.
You know?
I did. And there was cool stuff.
Good for you. Yeah, the premise is cool.
The bone guns, yeah, really
it's
awesome.
Got to be a young Jude Law as well.
Yes, very
again,
young.
you got Willem Dafoe, Ian Holm for Christ's sake is in it. So okay, but a 38% for eXistenZ or eXistenZ, whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're in 2007, and you said basically in 2005, presumably with History of Violence, you're saying he goes for a different tone.
Bingo.
Let's get out of the body horror stuff and go into just more I guess crime thriller?
Yeah, it's crime thriller, adaptations.
Yeah,
It's just kind of
yeah.
like, it just seems like he takes a little bit of a break. He chills out a little bit.
Well, I appreciate it because Eastern Promises is relatively well known, even if you're not a Cronenberg guy.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just how I know, because Viggo's in it, Viggo Mortensen's in it. Maybe that's just, it's always been more ever present
Sure.
for me.
It's on your radar.
But we are following the Russian mafia a little bit. We are following Viggo Mortensen with another couple leading stars. But why don't you start to break down Eastern Promises, and we'll take this back and forth.
Sure. Well, long before I knew the insanity that comes along with Cronenberg, I thought this was just flat out the best Russian gangster flick you could ever ask for, and I feel like still holds that crown today. There's not many like really great Russian gang movies.
We'd have to go through that list.
Yeah.
It's not like we ever seek them out.
Yeah, true.
You know?
But it's just, the landscape is either dominated by like cartel or, of course, American mafia.
Right.
I've talked about 2007 and 2008 being a real big sweet spot for me getting into movies, and surface level or not, Viggo was just cool as ice in this shit.
He's so cool.
His suits, his hair, how many cigs he smokes, that neck gesture that he does to threaten the dude. I wanted to be Viggo. Like, if I was given a genie wish circa 15 years old, I would look like him now.
That is so funny. That is so good. I mean, listen, he's Viggo. First of all, he's always cool.
Yeah.
And Viggo, just in this role, he fits. Let's just say he fits really well.
Dynamite. And his suits, specifically his suits, people ask why I don't wear a lot of colors. I'm just over here still chasing Viggo and Eastern Promises. All his suits are variant of black, white, black, or black, gray, or gray, black, gray.
Which is very Cronenberg, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll even see with our lead in the Shrouds and everything.
Absolutely.
Cronenberg has a visual and costume style as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Monochrome, sleek.
Yeah.
Man, I really need to say that because this was a very nostalgic watch for me. I'm usually not swayed in that way at all. But watching this, I had a dumb smile over my face because I was just thinking back. Like I remember watching this so vividly when I was younger. What stung a bit...
How do I be a Russian gangster driver?
Yeah. It's willing to chop up bodies and just do badass things.
He's a slick mofo.
What stung a bit watching this film, though, as an adult, is just how much it really tries to avoid glorifying the gangster lifestyle. This is not like a Goodfellas or a Blow anything like that, where you can kind of, or even how we talked about with the blaxploitation special, where you can kind of argue, like, is this messy as a piece of art where it's glorifying crime in a way? But this is not that case. So I was just picking up the wrong vibes as a child. Impressionistic. Folks, I think the biggest question you should have by this point in the episode is why the hell did Cronenberg make this? This falls into that era of his directing, though, that frankly, it just, again, it feels like he chills out a little bit. He chills out on body horror. He just chills out on the craziness. Again, that kind of starts from 2005 with A History of Violence and ends around 2012 with Cosmopolis. Yeah, Cosmopolis. He also, in addition to working with Viggo in this section, he works with... Mickey 17. I'm drawing a blank.
Robert
Pattinson, yeah. Robert Pattinson, I believe, is in 2 or 3 of these movies during this time.
Oh my
period.
God, we gotta watch these now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's like also interesting to me because this is pre-Twilight for Robert Pattinson. So it's like this was like truly some of the first couple movies.
Is it? I thought the first Twilight was like
08?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
So he's in there.
Okay.
But he's a young star. He's just like the young hot heartthrob.
Right. Exactly.
And to go to Cronenberg.
Yeah, right. Who are you teaming up with, kid? You got the wrong running mate. These movies, though, have none of what we've been talking about so far, and instead explore darker, realistic tones in an attempt to show raw depictions of human nature. And in that sense, we get a third shade of what Cronenberg is, but like I said, this episode is kind of structured around a dark depiction of sex in some way, and Eastern Promises does find itself in that category as well. Eastern Promises is a European crime drama that, once again, really does its best not to glorify a life of crime and treats subjects like sex trafficking as cold and uncaring as are mobsters. Also a secret Christmas movie.
Is it? How did I not pick up on this?
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. It's around Christmas.
You're
Christmas
pushing
is
the
name
limits.
dropped. No, the rule.
Okay.
If Christmas is name
You're right.
dropped, and then the cream on top is if
Christmas
there is
tree?
a Christmas song or Christmas tree.
There is a Christmas tree in the film.
There we go.
Okay.
Secret Christmas movie. Naomi Watts plays a doctor who saves the baby of a pregnant Ukrainian prostitute, but loses the mother during the operation, causing her to become obsessed with unraveling her story. Digging into her Russian roots, she's able to get dangerously close to the answers she seeks, following the woman's diary right to the underbed of crime, what they call, get ready for it, Vodovorsky Mir, or the Thieves' World.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I got another Russian drop in
Okay,
later.
all right, very
we'll
good.
see, we'll see. Russians, man, that's a hard language. That's a made-up language. Drawing the icy stare of their driver, forcer, and undertaker, Viggo Mortensen, each probing question dances around the danger that the Russian mob wants to cover up. But before she can back out, she knows exactly what went wrong. The only issue is that the mob knows exactly what she intends to do as well, the diary now being a bargain chip to save Curiosity killing the cat. Cronenberg really takes a backseat writing here in this film, and Stephen Knight writing here, I feel like, is worth a highlight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you
Absolutely.
had some thoughts, Tom. You know, Knight is signed on to do the next James Bond. I think my takeaway is, you know, as someone, Knight I'm talking about, as someone who's really started, you know, only kicking off in the 2010s with just like being a workhorse writer.
Yeah.
The movies that I see, the movies that stand out to me that he's written, it's notable because I would say the script is the best part about it. You know, the movies that I look at, I say, well, the script is like the strongest part about that movie. And that's on Knight's shoulders.
Yeah, no, and it's great. I really think it's interesting that he got the Bond 26 gig.
Mm-hmm.
And it is Denis Villeneuve's story.
Yep.
It's Knight's job to form the script around the story.
Of course.
But that's fine because all those details, which I don't like Denis as the detail writer.
Okay.
I think Knight's going to do a really good job with it. He does start, I don't know, to say he starts in 2000. One of his films that he's really known for, I think, was a 2002 film, Dirty Pretty Things. So that was 2002. So
Interesting.
So he's been around for a bit. But he does work a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that you mark down that his skill is in writing.
Yes.
Because he does direct and things like that, but a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what stands out to me. It's like all these projects he's a part of, the writing is the highlight. So that's a good mark for him.
It feels, I don't want to say if it's the most, with all of his project, it's the most realistic, but it does have a gritty realismness to it. And just like a realness. It doesn't, I feel like there's not a lot of fluff in what I see from him, which is great. So Knight also is the show creator and wrote a lot for Peaky Blinders.
Yes,
And
yes.
again, it's that thing of gritty realism. Just the dialogue seems natural and good.
Yep.
And I would say just no fluff. Mm-hmm. And I think he can write a killer script, which is great.
And two movies that have been on my list, entirely separate from all this news of him getting Bond and us talking about him today, is Locke and Pawn Sacrifice.
Yes, yeah, and he wrote both those.
Both just have been separately floating around on my list for a long time. So I would really like to get around to those, maybe even within the year, to check those out in anticipation. My praise for Knight's writing here is that this does have some surprising depth when it comes to Russian mafia authenticity, though. Get ready for it once again. Vodovoy Zakony.
Perfect.
That is the Russian mob. That's the name for the
that's
Russian
the name.
mob. Yeah. I think it means like thieves in law or something like that. They operate very differently as a crime organization, and unlike the big Italian mobs we're used to seeing on film, the Russian mafia have a strict code that bounds them to secrets. Oftentimes, the killings that are done are often done to balance power, with the strings and the orders coming from way up in the organization.
Yeah. That's a little mafia, though, and the Cosa Nostra.
It is.
Is that
It
right?
is.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah, Cosa Nostra.
Yes, thank you.
Like I said, I definitely have an American crime organization special somewhere in me. I feel like the code of secrets, you're not allowed to report to other people once you're like tied together in pairs.
Okay,
That's
I
very
see.
different. Even we encounter it in this film where the mob boss is kind of grilling Vigo and saying like, "What are you doing here? What kind of jobs are you doing?" He can't tell him because it is tied into like the code of the Russian mafia.
So this should be a show. This would be an excellent.
Yeah.
If Cronenberg and Knight did this show.
Oh yeah,
that would be killer.
It'd be amazing. I think not only does this landscape of the Russian mafia, it swirls some of the mystery to the story, which is about power dynamics controlling a family holding crime evidence, but it's also a great fit because of the Russian mob versus any other organized crime style as the backdrop of the story. I feel like this is a perfect fit, and the story uses the Russian mob in an interesting way to develop the mystery. And at very least, tattoos and bathhouses make for one excellent fight scene as our climax, and that's all I'll say about that. Because I'd love to talk about it more, but
it's a famous scene.
Yeah. And it is very much a spoiler of how why the fight's happening in the first place.
Right.
So just there's a treat here.
We'll leave it there. Yeah.
I like that Vigo and Cronenberg are a bit of an actor-director couple as well. Definitely worth covering more on the podcast at some point. History of Violence really stands out to me. I've never seen that movie. That's
Which is shocking to me.
Yeah, that's kind of a name. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's Cronenberg.
I got scared.
Seems good and gets good ratings, though.
Yes. Kind of like, I guess, maybe like a American History X, where it's like very extreme in its violence. But yeah, we'll see. That's another one that's on the list now. I think where you can feel Cronenberg's style in this is all in the up-close details of Vigo's work. An early scene shows him methodically removing the fingers and teeth from a body. And this gore is, certainly a sidestep from being called body horror. It's not body horror, but it's still presented in such a disturbing light. There is some Cronenberg-ness to
there's
this.
DNA in it all over the place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also,
Vigo's great for Cronenberg, I feel like, because he just has this quiet, very straight demeanor about him. In real life and with a lot of his acting roles that I think just pairs so well with Cronenberg's vibe.
Absolutely.
That cool, calm, collected, and not afraid to get crazy.
Yeah, not afraid to get crazy is right. He puts out a cigarette on his tongue out of nowhere. Like, no one put him up to this. No one put him up to that. It's unreal. But this violence throughout the film, it's pretty hardcore. Once again, this is not glamorizing being a career criminal at all. And nonetheless, whether it was 2007 or 2025, I could not help but love how good of a gangster Vigo is in this.
Yeah.
Man, just like I kind of wish we could go back in time and give him more roles like this. I feel like he would do a phenomenal job, even like if it was Italian Mafia or something like that. You know?
Well, I don't know, but maybe this quietness, Russianness of the character is good. And Vigo, what I've learned, and every time I've thought about Vigo for the past 20 years and what I would like to see him in, and I want to see more blockbusters, Vigo's gonna Vigo, and you got to let him do it and once in a while he'll come out with a Captain Fantastic,
right?
Or he'll do Cronenberg, and he'll be in. Once again, that movie that I just can't remember.
History of Violence?
No. The not blood something.
Crimes of the Future.
Yes, Crimes of the Future.
There's not even blood in the
title.
title.
I know, but it's just, I don't know why that film name escapes me. But he pops up wherever he pops up.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're smaller films, and yet oftentimes his performance is always a standout, which enhances the push of the movie, like a Mr. Fantastic, even like Crimes of the Future. You can even The Green Book. We're talking about Oscar films that don't deserve it. Might have to go on that list, unfortunately.
Yeah, so true.
But Vigo will Vigo. I remember at one point in the aughts or something like that, in the early 2010s, he was doing a play in Spain.
Interesting.
Not in London on the West End. Not in Broadway. So Vigo's gonna Vigo.
He's gonna Vigo.
You gotta let him do his thing.
I love that. But you bring up a great point with Crimes of the Future. Going back to that review, I haven't listened to it in a while, but it was so enjoyable having him unravel. He was the eyes that we unraveled this world through. This strange sci-fi alternate reality future. And he brought something to that. He brought maybe a believability to it, maybe helped digest a little bit.
I think he's great like that.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, he's now directed 2 films, and both are Westerns. And I know they're going to be smaller films. They're lower budget.
Sure.
But the one that came out last year, maybe we give it a go with this guy.
I'd be down with
I
that.
like that he's doing directorial stuff. And the fact that he's got a Westernness to him kind of surprises me because I see him as a worldly guy. I mean, he can speak 5 languages.
Sure.
He's been all over the place in the world.
Yep.
So the fact that he does Western, I would almost want to maybe, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe a birthday movie or something like that.
I'd be fine adding that to the Western list.
A lot of love here for Vigo. That's it. We're fans.
Yeah. But the razor wire tension of this story is why you should check it out, especially because of how all the cards on both sides, in both hands, are kind of revealed pretty early on. And the story itself is instead about how they balance that out in the open, messy, clear cut. What should be dead to right evidence against this crime family becomes poisonous for whoever holds it. And while silencing voices is the primary movement that keeps the mob in power, it only takes enough eyes on the situation to upset that balance. We're going to go ahead and give Eastern Promises 2007 an 81.
An 81%. Excellent. That was a quick review.
Yeah?
Maybe not. Maybe I got all excited.
Yeah, I guess we got caught up talking about Vigo.
81%, Vin. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. This is getting 2 shoes and a lace, by the way.
Yeah! That's great.
I thought it was really good. I just wanted the story to be bigger. I would be, make a 2.5 hour, 3 hour film in this world.
Big mob epic.
Because really the story is very contained. It's centered on this person, we got this, we have this notebook. You know what I mean?
The notebook is truly, it's more than a MacGuffin. It's like central to the story.
Yes, exactly.
The bargaining chip.
So I just loved being in this world and would have loved to see it expanded, get more characters.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. If they did this in a show, it would be unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Especially expanding beyond this sliver of the Russian mob that we see basically this one family.
Yeah.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of like, what are the higher levels, a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And was this rated before or no?
I don't think so.
Which is surprising.
Which is surprising because it was, again, so nostalgic. One of those movies I've always kind of kept in mind, somewhere in the back of my mind.
Right. Same. Well, good. I'm glad we covered it then. It was a joy to watch. I mean, 2 shoes and a lace. I really, really liked it.
That's great.
Even for a kind of how small. It's an hour and 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a little chunk. I think the only thing I have to say about it is I do feel like, and you were saying you were wrapping up your review with it, a lot is given to us very quickly in the movie. Mm-hmm. And even things that aren't said, I think would have been a better reveal had it just a little bit with the writing and a little bit with the actors' performances. There's some with the older kind of mafia guy and the woman, Naomi Watts, and things that even just the body language, had they would have toned some things down, it would have left a better revealing aspect later in the film.
More tension, certainly.
Right, because to me, so much of it was laid out already in the first half an hour of the film. That was my only kind of gripe. It could have been even more tense and more edge of your seat in the future. So for some dominoes to fall later in the film. And other than that, performances are really good. Obviously, Vigo was good. Naomi Watts. Armin Mueller-Stahl, who plays that older guy, is great.
Okay.
And then also, who we're about to talk about a ton, but Vincent Cassel, who plays the lead in the Shrouds. He plays just a good force of recklessness. But he works in this role. I like him better in this role. I like him better in Ocean's 13.
12.
Than I do in the Shrouds, personally. But
and you think he would be maybe have too much of an ego to play the bumbling fool in this one, but he does a great job.
Yeah, he plays a good bumbling fool.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's always those unhinged guys in one of these movies. But Eastern Promises 81%, 2 shoes and a lace.
I'm so glad you like this. I'm so glad.
And I'm sure you're not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, in part, definitely it was an inclusion this week because, like, I needed something that you wanted. So true. Something for Tom a little bit. But legitimately, like, I was watching this and it's just, man, I cannot think of another Russian mob movie that exists. Not that there are that many that would top this. And I've always kind of thought that ever since this came out. So
we'll have to delve into that. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of KGB stuff.
Sure.
But you're right. As far as Russian mafia stuff, I would be interested because it's another treasure trove of just cool things.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. But okay, all right. Eastern Promises 81, 2 shoes and a lace. Folks, before we get to our very last film here, we just want to remind people that Vin and I are going off the value for value model. You won't have any advertising here. You won't have any paywalls or tier structures on the site. There's no pay to play or you have to pay money to get extra bonus content. content. There is no bonus content. Everything we do, it's out there for free. But if you're enjoying it, if you're finding what we're doing here valuable, then can you send us some value back? Can you support the show through your donations? That's value for value. So you go to thedailyratings.com, you head to the donations tab, and through your monetary support, through your donations, you become an actual legitimate producer of the Daily Ratings. Just like in Hollywood, when you financially support a project, you're a producer of the project, and that's how we're doing it here. So when you donate, you can also send in a producer note. This could be questions, comments, critiques, ask us anything, say anything, start a conversation, praise us, hate us. It's all good. If you're going to be a producer, we want to bring you into the fold, hear what you have to say. That's what being a producer is all about. So for this episode, for episode 203, we actually kind of had to record this a little bit early because Vin is actually in Tokyo currently.
Yep.
So we very may well have had producers this week, but we will give you the shout out on the coming weeks, just not this week. So that's kind of what's going on there. If you're wondering why you're not being mentioned, that's the deal. So again, it's at dailyratings.com. Head to the donations tab, and everything is laid out there for you. You'll see the big value for value button there where you can peg any number you want. And then you'll also see some fun set donations like Buy Vin a Movie Ticket, Space Odyssey, Gum Club, and all that fun stuff. And again, don't forget to send us a producer note. Our email is tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. Just send your note to us. And again, we're listener supported. We're producer supported. We thank all of you who have produced the Daily Ratings. And if you want to be an executive producer of episode 204, stop by thedailyratings.com. Okay, Vin, let's go on to the new-ish film.
Yeah.
And this is easy. I mean, I just rented this on Amazon. Super easy to find.
Yeah.
This is called The Shrouds. And Cronenberg is back with our lead actor in Castle.
Yep.
And he's a French guy, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
His big claim to fame is a movie called La Haine. I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah, it's right.
But, that's his, real big one. I think that actually gets him things later on in the 2000s like Ocean's 12 and stuff like that.
He had a moment. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But Vincent Cassel plays definitely our main guy. Diane Kruger, who I love.
Oh, yeah.
Also from a lot of French cinema, she does.
Yes,
and she'll dip her toe in America once in a while.
Yep.
Or Canada.
Right.
In this case. But Diane Kruger's known for she's in Inglourious Bastards.
Yes.
And then she's the main female lead in the National Treasure movies.
Oh, wow. I completely forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. And she's beautiful. She's incredible.
She's gorgeous.
So that's who we've got here. Definitely a smaller movie, The Shrouds. Why don't you get into it, break it down? We'll take it back and forth.
Well, like we've been saying, this was released to the masses earlier this year. A brand new Cronenberg movie that pretty much no one got a chance to see, and most of all me. You know what I mean? I don't think there are that many big Cronenberg fans, but the fact that I missed this was, it stung. While I would have loved for this episode to be a highlight of the best from our director, an essential special, realistically, once again, this episode functions as a catch-up for what we would have done on release for a kind of a good old Director 5 spot.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said in the beginning, more than a few of these films were a disappointment for me, even with being a huge fan of his work. And sadly, The Shrouds might have had me hooked with its premise, but once again, execution is where it leaves a lot to be desired. I feel like this hook was still in me by the end, by the time the credits roll on this one, but the black eyes on the film, specifically around production, unfortunately, as it ties into the quality of some effects and even some of our comments on budget, that's where this kind of chips away at this slowly but surely. The Shrouds is a near future or even contemporary drama mystery around grief, corporate conspiracy, and body horror by way of disturbing distortions in reality. Vincent Cassel plays the affluent Karsh Relic, who is deeply mourning the loss of his wife, with this grief starting to affect every corner of his life. He's always been a grim figure, however, owning a cemetery and, oddly, a fine dining experience paired with it. The cemetery itself is almost tastelessly modern and cold in order to display an unsettling new technology. Once again, it's always like the Cronenberg formula is new tech. How does that change reality? And let's explore that.
Yeah, it really is.
Karsh also invented the Shrouds, a type of high-tech burial garment that for the last time, folks, say it with me, bear with me, lets you view the body real time as it decomposes in a sort of corpse voyeurism, bringing about a radical new method of grieving. Our insight into Karsh is in the twilight of his career, though, with relationships lamenting what has come and gone. His sister-in-law, being an identical twin to his wife, is a constant reminder of the past, and even his business partner seems to wallow in that same misery. This work is still seen as strange and on the fringe of what society views as acceptable, however, which invites many individuals actively conspiring against Karsh. But it's only through understanding his heartbreak can we begin to grasp his grave vision for the future. Cronenberg's solo writing here once again, and while I've always loved how his world building unfolds through kind of introducing these technologies, here unfortunately a lot of the dialogue sounds like an old man writing them, and I hate to say that, but because I have a lot of respect for him as a creator and as a creative, but particularly how current technology is discussed, it feels a little boomer, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I didn't even like how it was delivered either. The lines were, to me, stilted.
Sure. That's.
Yeah, definitely with this one, with Castle, who I generally like seeing on screen. I really felt like his delivery was, I don't know, flat, weird, awkward, and maybe that's supposed to add to the weirdness of the film, but instead it just detracted from the film.
Sure.
It made it unbelievable, even though as much as the story is a little unbelievable, it made the actual character just like, kind of, what are we doing here? It's that thing, if you were someone in the room, you would be like, why are you talking like that?
So true.
And I think with that...
like beyond eccentric.
Correct. Or just trying to be the character... who the main character is supposed to be. I just don't know if the French guy speaking his second language in English, I would say, helps anything. It just, something's missing there.
I think that's totally valid.
When paired with a very rudimentary thing with all this tech on Cronenberg's writing part, it's just not a good mix. You kind of have two things that aren't hitting their marks exactly.
Yep. And exactly where I wanted to, kind of call light to it throughout the special, but definitely in Crash and definitely in this one of kind of selling the idea of something strange.
Yeah.
That's a big responsibility if this is going to pull it off. The setting here is near future, but still plenty strange. I feel like if Crimes of the Future was a full step into an alternate reality, this is more of like a half step and uses plenty of recognizable brands and concepts to flesh out the world. For instance, all of this grave technology is presented through present-day devices. The Shrouds, patented kind of corpse cam, I guess for lack of a better word.
That's what it is.
Can easily be accessed through a smartphone, and even Karsh himself uses an AI companion to help with this grieving process. He kind of just is trying everything to get through it. My issue, very simply, it looked very cheap and very fake. Artificial.
I think he had a very low budget on this one.
Yeah.
It's tough to get. I mean, I've got some scraps of how much it costs, but there isn't actually a disclosed amount. And he got some co-financing from a France production, which maybe that's how we kind of got Diane Kruger in there. I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
But it was a tough budget. Now, the film is very small.
Yeah.
We don't need a lot of elaborate sets.
Sure.
We really don't need a lot going on at all. We don't need a big cast at all.
Right.
It's very quiet, but it reeks all over the place.
Yeah.
A low budget.
Absolutely. And it affects, kind of the same shade, not as drastically bad as eXistenZ, where there's a disconnect. There are things that I can easily praise. There are also things that are either throwaway or distract from the ideas trying to be presented. It seems difficult for older directors to capture modern trends, which is something we touched on with Coppola for Megalopolis. I'm not saying it's down there. But not only does the visual language of software always change and change rapidly, it unfortunately feels like any commentary these auteurs, directors are trying to make about it feel like it's always pacing behind much of what has already been said. If anything, I could point to our recent dive into Spike Lee, where with Highest to Lowest, there was some commentary of where this story exists within modern social media and how that changes the story itself and what he's adapting from the old movie. It feels like everything these auteurs are bringing to that discussion, it's kind of been there, done that, and I almost would rather they just not try at all.
Right,
know?
and because the overall...
Write a movie without phones even,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the overall thing of having this cadaver cam, and this is your thing with the Shrouds, I wanted almost more in that. I wanted more in the business. I wanted more with that stuff. Yep. This digital assistant that he has was tough. The avatar helping him out a little bit through life was not exactly... he wasn't selling anybody, I don't think.
Exactly. And I mean, it's tough because, I mean, if it looked a little bit better, a little bit less like it was generated on Fiverr or something like that.
Right.
Let's look at the real world. Grok AI, it's got an AI.
It's a whole thing.
The AI avatars, they don't look great, but it's just a step little too low in the production quality. Sadly, and most importantly, none of it just looks great. And yes, ultimately, a lot of that is only cosmetic to the story, but big story elements such as, again, this avatar to the AI that is used just look extremely cheap and extremely distracting. The dialogue introducing these concepts can definitely sound a bit stilted, like you said, Tom. Exactly like we've talked about already, it's a bit of its own style. And I don't say that as an excuse, more so just as context of just is Cronenberg for you? I know Cronenberg works for me in some ways.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is about recommending movies. And if you haven't watched Cronenberg, I think that's a good heads up, ultimately. At very least, all these movies have a steep hill of introducing whatever batshit concept he's cooked up. And again, I've always just appreciated a weird tone matching a weird premise. One of the weirdest aspects in this movie is how kind of sexual desire is stirred into all of this. And it's exactly where I decided to introduce a film, or rather include a film like Crash this week, to see how he kind of tackles that throughout his career. This absolutely deals with strange erotic concepts, though, that are meant to disturb the audience, but unlike his previous stories this week, ultimately is tied to how trauma splinters the sanity of these characters. I feel like rather than sex being the big theme here, trauma and grieving is the big theme here. And that splinters in unpredictable, messy, and dark ways. And that's where my appreciation for this film and this story lied. That's where I've just found a lot of depth in the film. It's apparent to our characters that there's really no outline for the grieving process, despite so many technological advancements to hold on to death. Plot-wise, that might feel a little bit directionless, if I'm being honest, but especially towards the climax of the film, I thought there was substance in having acting performances and characters not be blown out or overly dramatic in their grieving. No one's really like breaking down, sobbing or anything like that. Everyone's just kind of drifting in a numbness.
It's a drifting movie.
A hazy, you know what I mean? And that I feel like is realistic, where production notes were not realistic, you know what I mean? There is some substance, for at least for me there. Instead, the story kind of matches the tone and the arc of our characters that they're in. They drift through a haze, after losing someone. And that causes each one to react differently in how they process it, from lashing out to desperately grasping at the past, and definitely these sexual overtones to the movie. Regardless of its theming resonating with me or not, this was sadly a bit of a disappointment, however, especially after the self-inflicted hype of kind of creating an idea or an episode around it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The buzz was real on this one, too.
Yeah.
It was getting maybe an unusual, unwarranted amount of praise.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
I don't know what the deal was, honestly.
2025 is a weak year film-wise, but it's
come
kind of I don't know where this was ranking above certain things. Between our original director's study and now this episode, you can see Cronenberg projects have a huge range, mostly depending on if they stick the landing or not on selling the core concept to the audience. And while this definitely has some stumbles in connecting ideas with reality, I feel like it's still a haunting exploration of grief in a real, uncharted way. We're going to go ahead and give The Shrouds a 60 on the dot.
Okay, a 60%. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was, I probably would give it lower. I'm not going to give it a shoes.
Sure.
I will say, I'm not going to talk about it. I didn't like the ending. I did make that comment to you. And I just, after sitting through this film, I would have appreciated a better button or a better bow at the end of this. And I was a little annoyed.
Yeah.
Because I honestly kind of felt like I wasted my time at that point.
I think it's valid too, because this movie, like I said in the summary description of this, there is like some corporate conspiracy going on. There's like real story plot elements that maybe we're just kind of left in the wind.
I kind of thought we were going somewhere. That hey, give me this hook.
Yeah.
You know, give me a little action here, something to care about. And to me, it wasn't it wasn't some grand finish. It was a sputtering finish, and it does kind of match the mood, the tone of the movie, like you said, where it's I don't know if morose is the right word. I don't even know if I know what that word means. But the whole thing is very depressive, and naturally so. We're dealing with just a guy. How does he grieve with his wife in the most absurd ways? But yeah, so it was. Being let down at the end was the salt in the wound, which didn't help it. And I will say, the more I thought, like I said, I kind of feel the exact same way about it as soon as the movie was over until right now. The biggest thing is like I don't know if I want to shit on Cronenberg as much as I feel like I want to because of the budgetary restrictions. Because it is a real thing. You know.
And if this was, I don't know too much into the production history of this project, but if he was kind of just shooting for a quick flip or just something that was smaller by design into it, maybe that's hard to blame, some of those production qualities. But
it was also the writing and some of the, even Guy Pearce has played, Vincent Cassel, Diane Kruger, and Guy Pearce, really the three main people. There's another character in it too, but those are the three. Underutilized, let's say. And I thought he could have been bolstered up a little bit, made a little bit better. And he was almost a throwaway in the end, kind of, in my opinion. So, little lackluster, to say the least. 60% for you, though, because there was enough there. Was it the arching story that kind of gripped you?
I think, no higher than 60 on the dot because of, poor production qualities and also just kind of like a hard movie to recommend. I think it does land at 60 for me, though, because... Again, I was walking away with not being like affected emotionally by it, but finding its reflection on grief, on the grieving process, on death, interesting. I'm with you. Even towards the end, a little frustrating, even if you are viewing the movie in that lens for 100% of the time. Still, there was something that kind of stuck with me that I did enjoy this on some level. It was problematic.
So me too, by the way. Again, the overarching story of just like this guy doesn't know how to grieve. He's watching his rotting wife die, but that's what's making him feel close to her still. It's like, okay, let's do it, Cronenberg. Like, I'll buckle in and see what goes on. So, but
you're so right as far as some of the production notes, and I as well. I mean, now even thinking about it, the language, how certain lines are delivered from Castle.
I think if you went back and watched it, I think I might have tainted it even more for you.
Because it's tough. It's clearly, he's got a lot of lines to deliver in a cold, uncaring way, about technical stuff and his business ideas, but they're not like they don't play to the strengths of that actor at all,
Right, exactly right. Right. Okay, so 60% for the Shrouds. How do we end up now? How do we end up after we just kind of
a little bad, look good.
Looking at any of the scores, anything to touch on, any remarks on Cronenberg as a whole? Listen, he's 82 and he's still working. I believe his next movie he already has kind of in the works.
Okay, interesting.
So he's not finished, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say the only thing really missing from Cronenberg is very, very early stuff. I'm talking pre-scanners and Videodrome. He has a movie called The Brood, which is apparently good. But maybe that could be like a director's first special,
right?
And then this middle chill out period in the 2000s of just like he's not body horror anymore. They're dark movies probably,
right?
But,
of course.
That's really the only thing left. Really enjoyed this week, and I say that if anything with the highlight of like.
We got some bangers here.
There's some bangers, and there was some like movies I was like, I kind of hated.
There's some MASH. We had some bangers and MASH. That's what we had.
We got some bangers and MASH.
I enjoyed this week too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I watched these 3 movies. Because I've never really tasted Cronenberg before.
Sure.
I really haven't.
Yeah,
And now I actually think I'm going to sit down and watch Crimes for the Future finally.
Yeah.
Because I actually think I like that one.
Exactly. And you've honestly, even though you haven't really dived into him as a director, you have like felt his effect. Again, Substance. That's a Cronenberg movie,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Cronenberg's son, still making movies, definitely in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, for sure. So he doesn't have a project listed yet. I'm sure we will get one, but he has some acting stuff. Do you know he was in like Star Trek Discovery, a bunch?
Yeah, I don't know why he acts. He's also in
a
like
lot.
the worst Friday the 13th. I think it's Jason X. It's the one in space.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. He really,
I don't know why he acts.
He has a lot of acting credits.
It's unreal.
He's kind of a weird looking guy, though.
Yeah.
But I like the fact
Chrome
I don't think he's done.
Yeah.
Right. The question is, can he get backing? And I hope he gets backing.
Right. I'll even call attention to it. I'm certainly in the minority of loving Crimes of the Future as much as I do.
Yeah.
I really do still stand by that.
Yeah. I mean, look we got Dead Ringers at 83, Crimes of the Future at 82, and now we have Eastern Promises at 81.
Yeah.
I mean, these are heavy hitters.
Absolutely.
Why does he look at with A24? He needs to just get out of Canada.
Especially if he's doing smaller budget stuff.
Well, and A24 is going to give you a lot more than what he got from the Shrouds.
Yeah.
I mean, there's talks that it was like below $5 million for the Shrouds.
Oh, wow. And then
Crimes was
it's not exactly
27.
Yeah, it's not exactly like it has actors in it.
Yeah.
Like of note.
A24 will give you 30 mil.
Yeah.
And give you a proper release.
All right.
Okay, anyway. It just seems like he's such a big actor, such a big director. Like, he does have a massive cult following.
Sure.
Sure.
Yep.
But okay, this was fun. This was good. I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, one for the freaks. But I love weird movies, and ultimately, I mean, like, despite the scores varying on all of these, I enjoyed watching all of these because they were challenging in some way. They were new and bold. I will take that any day over just like, all the slop. All the slop, all the remakes, So that's why this was really, really great.
Excellent, Vin. Well, we appreciate it so much. Folks, be sure to check into the news show on Tuesday to figure out what Vin is covering for next week. For right now, we'll go down these bangers and mash one more time. We've got Dead Ringers with an 83%, Crash with a 45%, eXistenZ or eXistenZ with a 38%, Eastern Promises with an 81%, and the Shrouds with a 60%. Eastern Promises, by the way, 2 shoes and a lace. Anyway, folks, thank you so much, Vin. Thank you so much for watching these films, stopping by here this evening. We'll see you right here next Thursday on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. And just a reminder that the Daily Ratings is completely producer-supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.